That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Hello, happy Christmas, and welcome to the podcast at the intersection of faith and fear, where every week we discuss what scares us in order to find what saves us. This is the Fear of God podcast. Speaking to you right now, and in an especially, festive mood, is one of your hosts, Nathan Rouse. And typically with me is fellow co-host Reed Lackey. And well, guys, if I'm perfectly frank, I haven't heard from Reed in a minute, and the weather is getting a little frightful out where he's at. Greet you guys, but know that while I am talking to you, I'm also looking for Reed at the same time, because now is not the time and this is not the year to lose Reed to some dang inclement weather. In the meantime, allow me to welcome you to the penultimate episode of our year-long umbrella series 2020. I can't believe it. We're there, basically. We have been this year examining 20 films of the last 20 years in the year 2020. Today, we're looking at, oh my gosh, last year, 2019. That was just last year. We're here. But I'm getting ahead of myself, everybody, and I'm also I'm easily distractible, and I'm trying to hunt for Reed at the same time. So here at the Fear of God, we explore, we don't explain, except for right now when I am going to explain that you can listen to the Fear of God at your nearest podcast platform. You can watch the Fear of God on YouTube, and you can browse the Fear of God on the web at thefearofgodpodcast.com, where you will find episode archives and merchandise, including cell phone cases, t-shirts, campaign buttons, if you still want those. Turns out we might still need them. Face masks, magnets, pillows. Reed, I found you. Hey, buddy. Merry Christmas. Oh, you're okay. You're okay.
I am.
I'm so glad you're okay. I was a little worried there. You were just lost.
You know what?
It's the rubble.
There's been a lot going on.
Yeah, the rebel of the year is what I meant.
Yes,
yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But you know what? It's happy.
What?
YouTube listener or YouTube viewers will see that I'm wearing my Toy Story aliens with the Santa. You know, the ooh.
I like that.
Ooh, yes. And you know what? I am.
Meanwhile, I'm wearing up. That's kind of
always fun.
We should be doing what?
Wow.
Didn't get that memo.
Wow. Oh,
what are you drinking out of that tankard?
So this is a Harry Potter.
Okay, yeah.
This is a Harry Potter
orb?
Cauldron. Yes.
Yes, the cauldron.
And
yes.
And I am drinking.
Did you pull your name out of it?
Hot apple cider. Oh no, I put my name into it.
Yes, that's it. You're right.
Reference.
You're right.
Oh,
Zing! Rita's coming in hot with the heat checks.
So the it's hot apple cider spiked with a little bit of butterscotch schnapps.
Butterscotch. Clearly, it is already taking effect.
No.
Well,
it's just a hard thing to say. Butterscotch.
Schnapps. Yeah.
Butterscotch
schnapps. I'm having an apple cider with the first burger and the Xenomorphs and the butterscotch schnapps. I'm having some Baileys. A little bit of look. Cheers. Cheers, Reed. It's the end of the year.
Happy
almost.
Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Man.
You can tell we're only recording one episode because we both have our adult beverage in hand and ready to go.
We're not trying to be like, okay, quick.
Right. We're trusting we don't have 4 hours of recording.
Right. I got to tell you, though, I got a little, I didn't expect to say this, but I got a little emotional in a really good way putting up the Christmas tree this year. It was we put on music as we typically do, and usually our tradition is we put up the tree and we'll play some music in the background while we do so. This year our son was able to get a smaller tree for his room that he picked out, and he decked out the ornaments for it and everything. And then usually once the tree is up, we also hang some lights in the room, some green lights, just to create, a little bit more festivity. And then sit down and usually watch like a short cartoon or something. Usually these days on Disney Plus, or like a Disney cartoon like Pluto's Christmas Tree or Mickey's Christmas Carol or something like that. And it's just, and the whole experience just got me in a really good way. It just got me very emotional. teared up a little bit. It was sweet.
I feel like I can sort of echo that sentiment a little bit because one, it's been a year, man. It has been a year.
Been a year. Yeah.
And two, sadly, for COVID related purposes, we are not doing the birth this year, my Christmas show. And so that has had me a little, morose, but a little melancholy. But there has been something particularly sweet and special about the decorating this year, and just in a way that in previous years, I'll phrase it that way, in previous years that has felt more you're checking the box. Okay, we got to get the decorations out. Okay, we're here. Okay, now Nathan's going to do the play or whatever. This year, given the sort of year it's been, just we added a bit more to our decoration repertoire. We've just done it up a little bit more, and it has been a little sweeter for it. At least that's how I've experienced it. And listen to this, you'll love this. So a few months back, I coerced my wife into letting me get the Apple HomePod, which is just their little smart speaker thing.
It's like in their version of Alexa or something.
Yeah. So,
okay.
Well, Alexa and Siri are counterparts, more like their version of the Echo or whatever it's called.
Okay, understood. Yeah,
the device itself.
Right.
Well, you can. I just learned this the other day. So lately, I love getting up. Our youngest child, when she gets out of bed, is kind of you just throw a dart. You have no clue when it's exactly going to happen.
Sure.
But you can guess. You can guesstimate it. And I really crave those 15 or 20 minutes before she gets up. So I will get up to be in the quiet and the Christmas trees on. Well, I just discovered on the HomePod that you can automate music for a time. So read the night before. This is just what I do in general these days, is I'll prep coffee the night before. I don't know if you're a coffee drinker, but my task maritally is to prep the coffee the night before so that it's brewing when we get out of bed. Well,
yes,
I have added to it that now when I come downstairs at 6:45 in the morning, only is the coffee mid brew, thus about to be pourable, but also the Vince Guaraldi trio, A Charlie Brown Christmas, has begun playing. And I just come down to light lights, and that Christmas lights, that is, and that's happening in the kitchen. I'm like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus, for being born.
Thank you for so much, but most especially
and
for this.
Yes. And there's like 15 minutes of just that. It's not long. Sometimes it's not long enough. Sometimes I'm mad when it's over, but you're just like,
wow,
just 10
how wonderful. Oh my God.
Coffee and the Charlie Brown Christmas music going. You know what? I know something funny. See, you didn't know you didn't know you were gonna have Christmas. You mentioned, or I mentioned YouTube a minute ago.
Yeah,
this is really funny to read. So it's a just fun little anecdote. I've gotten really good about my behavior on social media the last few years.
You've been good.
I've been better, but big asterisk here. But there's one high school peer which of course, no story is going to end well that starts with, so this high school peer on social media said peer. X. Right.
Not my current friend. This high school peer.
Exactly. Not high school aged peer, but a peer I had in high school. Right. That's even worse.
Take notes.
So, yeah. So I've taken to needling a little bit in good humor some of the things she posts. And so just today, this has gone on for about a week. She'll post something, frankly, it's a bit absurd, and so I'll poke a little bit, but it's I don't take it overly serious. But just today she was like, there you are, Nathan, with your 2 cents, you should start a podcast or something. And I said, oh, I've got the receipts. So I just linked to the show, and I was like, bam.
Show me another one.
She was like, oh, movies, I meant politics. I was like, no, thank you. I am not gonna do that. I can exercise those demons on this show.
Wow, that's
speaking
brilliant.
Of demons, let's get to business time.
Let's do that. Let's get the business out of the way.
I'm so excited because
oh my God,
next week, let me make sure, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. Yeah.
Okay. First, I'm hearing myself, but I'm hearing you, so that's what matters.
Okay.
Let me make a note. What's the runtime now? See, this is what I got to do these days. 10:07.
It's all right. And we started right on time, so I'm a little bit more relaxed about it because I was worried.
Okay. So business time. I'm super excited. We
Yeah?
have a treat. I hope it works out because it could be a bit of an unwieldy mess.
Please,
But
God.
next, so this is our Christmas episode.
This is it. It's just
it's
you and me.
Crawl. I don't know. I can't tease a meaning out of crawl.
Nothing says Christmas like hurricanes and gators.
Yeah.
That's 2020 Christmas for sure.
Oh, damn. But so next week is our kind of New Year's episode. It's our last episode of the year. It is our last episode of the year. It's our last episode of 2020. I'll let you announce what we're watching at the end of it. But Reed, we are having the first ever Fear of God staff New Year's Eve party episode.
I'm so excited.
We are going to have,
this is going to be great.
If it all works out, there's going to be like 7 or 8 of us. It's going to be a bit of a beast.
Yeah. So
but it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time.
It'll be a blast.
I got to figure it out. Yes.
All right.
So next week, everyone, please listen to that episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be the Fear of God New Year's Eve staff party, covering our final film.
Absolutely.
What you got, Riri?
So we've had some recent increased activities. A couple of people have taken our advice and chimed in and joined the Fear of God Facebook discussion group. So please, by all means, particularly with relevance, because in January, we are going to be taking a little month break from our regularly scheduled content. Usually, we put some little surprises in your feed that hopefully you enjoy, but regular episodes will pause just for the month of January while we take a bit of an end-of-year break. And then during that time, we want you guys to still be able to speak with one another and interact and, hey, what are you watching and what cool things are happening? So come over to Facebook and join the Fear of God Facebook discussion group. There's lots of great people over there. Most of the content revolves around people sharing recommendations, funny, quirky stories, fun links to, little quirky horror-themed things. But yes, it's a good place filled with wonderful people, and you should come and be a part of it. So the Fear of God Facebook.
Fear of God podcast group on Facebook. I did recently, I don't think you would know this or catch this, but I did recently add some questions that you have to answer to get into the Facebook group, just because sometimes Facebook is Facebook. So every now and then and ask will happen. I'm like, I don't know. Is this
you might be a real person. You might be an algorithm. Yeah.
You a bot? Yeah. Hey, you a bot? And so that's the question is, hey, you a bot? I'm just kidding. That's not really the question, but there are a couple questions now to get into it, but they're real easy and fun. Last bit of business for our next to last bit of business time is, come on, y'all. Leave a review. Come on. It's Christmas. You generous spirit. What?
I'm just saying, we've asked for this for like 4 weeks, and I remember when we started asking.
Doing it.
No, when we started asking, we were like, "Hey, we're only 2 more," and like here we're creeping by. We're still sitting as of this recording. Like, no,
we're crawling to 80.
I'm like, come on, man, 2 people. If there's 2 of you out there that listen to us through Apple Podcasts,
2 send us. I'm trying to get in televangelist mode. 2 people out there. 2 people. I know you're out there listening. You, sir. So leave us a review. Or don't, whatever. We can tell. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice to hit 80 before the end. It'd be nice to hit 79 before the end of the year, just to be real frank at this point.
True. Yeah, indeed.
So leave us a review. Read. So next week, that's business time, by the way.
That's business time.
Next week, we've got a slew of guests.
It's insane.
But
well,
we've got what?
I'm gonna intercept because I think were you about to
interject?
Yes, intercept your thought and interject with mine.
Okay.
So you were, I think, about to introduce a guest that is a frequent recurring, but I would like to. I would like to
you
do.
Have now intercepted.
I have
in favor of an
interjected. Yes.
Okay.
I would like to do two things. One you
Okay.
didn't know about. One you did and have forgotten it needs to go now. So,
Okay.
so the thing.
Happy New Year! I mean,
Happy
Merry
New Year, Merry
Christmas!
Happy Merry whatever. So the thing you did not know about is I just wanted to share like my mother-in-law who
Okay.
frequently sort of stumbles upon cute little trinkets. She
Sure.
got
As
she got
mother-in-laws
this little,
do.
yes, she got this little thing that she thought might be fun, and it's just a box. It's this YouTubers can see, but it's
Got
just
a rock.
I got a rock. But it's just this little box, and it's Christmas movie and TV trivia.
Oh, that's
And
fun.
I know. And so I was like, you know what? There's, I'm not going to read all 100 questions. Ain't nobody got time for that. But I was like, let's do 2 or 3 right now. It's going to take like,
All right.
3 minutes.
So
for us to
clarify, is it about Christmas movies or it's Christmas questions related? I'm
yeah,
confused now.
it's trivia questions surrounding Christmas movie and TV. And so I'm just
Dailies down. Okay.
like, okay, here we go. You love you some Trivial Pursuit. So I'm just gonna pick a card at random. See, there are all these these little cards.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah,
I'm going to cover the answer myself, and then we will see just based on, what
Okay.
I'm going to try my best to guess myself. And then, oh, wow, this is going to start with one that I just never even heard of. So we're going to move to a different one.
Well, maybe I had.
I doubt you've heard of the Christmas film John Doe, but
is that the Denzel movie?
I don't think so. I think that's John Q. Okay, here we go. Who is the star of the Tim Burton film The Nightmare Before Christmas? Is it Charlie Claus, Krampus, or Jack Skellington?
Pass. I am the Pumpkin King.
That's right. Oh, here's a fun one. What's the name of the film where a boy who has a bad Christmas ends up accidentally summoning a festive demon to his family home?
Krampus.
That's correct. The multiple choice gave the option Dark Santa, which I decided not to read. But what present did Harry Potter receive from Hagrid in his first Christmas at Hogwarts? I have multiple choice if you need it.
Yes, please do the multiple
Okay,
choice.
multiple choice is a magical
Did you know
Christmas.
It without it?
I'm going to see if I do. A magical Christmas pudding, a flying carpet, or a rough cut wooden flute.
Wait. What?
Yeah. Did he receive from Hagrid?
There's no magic carpet, so B is gone.
Yes. A magical
I don't
Christmas
think
pudding.
There's a flute. Okay.
Or a rough cut wooden flute.
It's not a flute.
Okay, it is a flute though. That is
what? No,
it's a flute. Like no, I've been lied.
Fail.
I've been lied to. Okay, this for particular our listeners right now.
Sorry,
this is why I wanted to do this. No, our listeners right now are listening along and either like yelling in glee that they know the answer or whatever. Okay, so we'll do 2 more and then we'll move on. Okay, so this one in 1984 Christmas horror film Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I haven't seen this.
I know.
Okay.
So, but you can guess what it was about with multiple choice questions. Okay. So what was Silent Night, Deadly Night about? Was it about A, an insane young man dressed in a Santa suit, B, a band of killer Nazi elves, or C, Rudolph and his reindeers have rabies and go out of control on Christmas Eve?
I'm going to guess A.
You would guess correctly. It is about an insane young man dressed in a Santa suit. Okay, I'm going to pick a card at random from the middle. And of course, okay. What was the name of the Christmas film starring Hulk Hogan? Was it Merrily Wrestling All the Way, A Headlock Christmas Carol, or Santa with Muscles?
Do you know this?
I do.
Of course you do.
I've seen it.
Well, what is it? Of course you have. What is it? Headlock?
No, it's Santa with Muscles. Which is the
not even
it's
creative.
Like the least I know. It's like the laziest title. It's Santa with muscles.
On the writer's room. What about Santa with muscles? Yeah.
So anyway, huge thank you to my beloved.
Come on, one more. You're gonna leave us on Santa
you're gonna leave us on Santa with muscles? Okay, all right, fine.
That ain't
one
right.
more. That ain't right.
Damn, boy.
All right. And boy. Okay. Oh, all right. So here we go. All right. What is written on the jumper of a dead terrorist in Die Hard? Does it say "Boom Boom Christmas,"
That's Will Smith's rap album.
Boom, boom, Christmas. Does it say, now I have a machine gun, ho, ho, ho? Or does it say, blow me away, it's Christmas?
Huh.
On a dead terrorist in Die Hard, visualize the moment.
Then I must
Which
say
I am in the camp that Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie. But
I am
so you say
opinionated.
So you say A, it's boom
Boom,
boom
boom,
Christmas.
boom, boom.
Boom boom
Match in the gas tank. Boom, boom.
No, in
Hey,
point
Gilbert.
of fact, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best Hans Gruber impression.
Okay.
Shout out and pour a cold one out for Severus Snape, but Alan Rickman. He says, "Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho."
That's pretty good.
That is what is written on that.
Well,
so yeah, it's
I
really
figured
delightful.
that's what you were saying.
Yes.
I don't like failing at games.
It's okay though.
Not my.
It's okay. It's fun.
I
It's fun.
I don't enjoy that.
I love it. I love it so much. So
that was
the
fun
first
though.
thing.
I hate that the one I might have gotten with knowledge I failed because I was like, a flute. Harry doesn't have a flute.
You're a flutist.
You're a wizard,
You're
Harry.
a flutist, Harry.
He's off at the Hogwarts Conservatory. Yeah, I'm what a boring movie. It's not a wand, it's a flute.
It's been 7 years to make first chair. That's all he does.
Voldemort is just a rival flautist.
And that's the
Let's
end.
finish this
they're
how
like
we
wand,
started, Tom.
their wand battle
together.
is just like Peter and the Wolf, rap. It's their version of a rap battle, but it's Peter and the Wolf on the face. Oh my god. Oh, Merry Christmas.
Man.
Oh, Merry Christmas. Okay, so the other thing, so that was the thing you didn't know about. I just sprung a surprise on you. Thank you again to my mother-in-law for all of those delightful laughs.
Yes.
The other thing is, we haven't done it for a couple weeks, so it'd be great if we did a watching, reading, listening.
Oh,
that would be
is that
that'd
now?
be wonderful.
Is that now? Okay.
That's what you did know about, but you just didn't.
I'm along for the journey, Reed.
Sure.
How I roll. Well, the good news is that we do have some guests for that. Or do we? The volume needs to be up when you push play. The good news is we also have some guests for that. Now we need excellent island family.
Awesome.
Now we need our fog and flautist to send in a tune. Don't shoot your schnapps.
I'd taken a drink at the wrong moment with that one.
No.
I just visualized Voldemort and Harry doing the flute battle like some sort of weird devil
in the
went
rubble
down
of
to Georgia
Hogwarts,
thing.
Oh,
Lord have mercy.
All right. So, Reed,
yes.
I just gotta mention it, and then we can move on to other things. But
sure.
Literally, in the last 4 hours previous to our recording, Disney was doing a massive dump on the internet.
That's not you use that word, but I do not think it means.
Anyway, they just released a cavalcade of information.
True.
And the latter and last part of which, because they're savvy, because they're Disney, and they own just everything, was their Marvel rundown. And good night. 2020 has been a lackluster media year as far as our big tent productions go.
Right.
But starting in January, we've got like 6 straight months of Marvel TV, and I am here for it. WandaVision looks nuts. Loki looks nuts. Cap Winter Soldier looks good. And then there's possibly, and What If? You really ought to watch the trailer for What If.
Oh,
it
really?
Looks amazing.
Okay.
It looks amazing.
I was very curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Animated series. The animation style is pretty awesome. This is no spoiler. It's right there in the trailer. Them is what if T'Challa was Star-Lord, got taken by Yondu.
Oh, wow.
Another one that's in the in the press footage is what if Peggy Carter got the super soldier serum. So stuff like that. Super cool.
That's awesome.
Alt takes on the stories we already know and love. So pretty excited about that. And then possibly, I guess, films. But the films that are slated to release are Shang-Chi and Black Widow for next year, maybe Eternals. Anyway, huge MCU stuff coming. Hopefully, it's going to be a big 2021. So that's I wanted to touch on that at least in brief. You've got a trailer.
Yeah,
I mean,
actually,
we both watched it, but
yeah. But if you wouldn't mind, so I wasn't prepared for how energized I would be by it. Literally, like in our thread, our good buddy Andy, frequent guest on the show, had chimed in and had shared something. Had shared a fun bit of pop culture news with you. That was relative to a upcoming Marvel film. And then on right after it, he shared, and he specifically referenced me. He was like, breathe it in, Reed, like just take it in. And it was the trailer for season 3 of Cobra Kai, which I knew was going to be coming and I felt would be coming soon, but I was just not prepared for like, oh, I got to the trailer and like, it's super exciting. I was so energized. I love where they seem to be taking the show. It's a really well put together trailer.
I didn't see them Hillary Swank in the mix.
I mean, I didn't either. I don't know what trailer you saw, but
but in seriousness, I was thrown. I mean, they're bringing in the Karate Kid 2 characters.
Yes, Shozen from Karate Kid 2. Yeah, he was the main villain, and also the love interest makes an appearance.
Well, it's two different characters.
They are two different characters, yes. But yeah, so Karate Kid Part 2 is now going to play presumably a pretty pivotal role in the new season. And Johnny and Daniel are going to be teaming up, and
it's like an old-fashioned Marvel team up.
Oh man, it looks really, really cool. So I was just very energized by it. We've sung the praises of Cobra Kai on this show. If you are into it, and the show drops the season 3 drops, I think January 8th. So yeah, go check out the trailer.
My anniversary is January 10th. What do you know?
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. But these are like previews of coming attractions. Have you actually engaged in like something that you want to talk about, recommend? Mention?
I have. Is there anything you want me to talk about? I've actually been consuming a good bit lately, actually.
See, I have too. I'm gonna have to like trim it down. I've got like 2 things I'll mention. One just like with a brief, thing.
I'll name this one. I'll say, okay, I'll this is what happens when I laugh a lot. So I'll just mention one, and whether I recommend it or not, it actually technically isn't out yet, so I don't know if I can say much. But I did watch News of the World with my wife last night, new Paul Greengrass with Tom Hanks, and found myself rather invested and moved by it in a way that I actually didn't think I would be. So definitely awesome. Would suggest folks checking that out. It releases Christmas Day, but I don't know if that's strictly to theaters or not. But I did
strictly to theaters.
Something I can talk openly about, at least I'm aware of because it is readily available, is you know what? I don't know who directed this, but The Nest with Jude Law and Carrie Coon.
Oh, I had heard of it as actually I think Dave Courtney through the Facebook group had pitched,
Dave,
had pitched it.
Canadian vlogger. They're the best. All of Canadian vloggers are the best. But great flick. I mean, it's on a frequency. So like, you don't come to it. It's Dave referenced this, and this is easy to see in it. And in fact, I was listening to a podcast today that was talking about this movie just ancillarily,
sure,
to the side,
sure,
that the director was heavily inspired by 70s kind of horror thrillers, which makes a lot of sense when you watch it, because it is not in any textual way a horror movie, but it is very much in the spirit of kind of it's got a very kind of period English countryside haunted house energy about it.
Nice.
Again, it is not categorically horror or even really thriller, except maybe in the marital sense.
Got it.
it would slot well into our possible upcoming series on spousal horror, or I'm trying to think of some names for that series. I don't know
Wow.
yet, but
You just
The Gift.
You left off. Yes, sure. You left
And
off the
others like
cliff,
it.
and you just didn't have.
Yeah, and I had
landing-
nothing.
You had no
Like,
landing strategy. You were just like, no, we're just gonna.
well, what's funny
see
is
what
I
happens.
did have one I listed to Dave online, and I can't remember what it was now because
Oh,
Bailey's.
I see.
But and Nathan. But that said, The Nest is really good. I mean, it's come on. It's Carrie Coon and Jude Law in a marriage breakdown movie. So like you're bound for some awesome
Merry
performance fireworks.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Merry Christmas.
No, I am very curious about that one. I haven't seen, big fan of both of those performers, so I'm very curious to check that out whenever I get to. So it's funny because I've been reading a lot, and I'm not even gonna speak in detail about but like I've been reading some really heavy stuff. I've been reading like Ezra Klein's book Why We're Polarized,
Nice.
J.D. Vance's book Hillbilly Elegy. I've been reading.
I read nothing good about the movie.
I've heard nothing good about the movie either. I haven't seen the movie, but the book was good.
In fact, most of what I've heard is aggressively anti the movie.
Absolutely. And given the compassion with which the book is written, I can understand how it would be easy to make. Again, I haven't seen the film, but I can understand how it would be really easy to take this story, remove it from the compassion with which Vance writes, and find yourself with a rough, problematic caricature kind of atmosphere. But
are you enjoying the Ezra Klein book? I do enjoy his podcast.
I finished it, and
okay.
I cannot recommend it highly enough for people who are interested in the social dynamics of what brought us here. It is brilliantly researched.
I thought of
wonderfully
you recently
articulated.
Because let me see if I can find this real quick. Meacham that you referenced to us recently.
Oh, John Meacham. Yeah. On for his that was the other one that I was going to mention was the I had mentioned it earlier on a previous one, but I finished.
I saw him referenced in some other book I was perusing recently. I can't recall exactly what it was, but I was like, I think that's who Reed was referring to.
Yes, John Meacham's American Gospel. So I've been reading a lot of things that are a bit on the heavier side. I wanted to kind of mention them. I recommend everything that I just mentioned. I also read Brene Brown's book Dare to Lead, which was really inspiring.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was great.
I love old Brene.
And so, but then
that wasn't me being. I'm sorry, that wasn't me being condescending. I'm actually.
Oh no, I know. Good. No. Like you pointed me towards Brene Brown's work, and she has been tremendously helpful and inspiring and uplifting. And so I thank you for that. But no, in the spirit of like Christmas things, this is not brainy at all. My specific thing is I was going to mention the two major Netflix Christmas holiday offerings that I referenced. I won't talk at length about either one of them, but just mention in passing. I did see Christmas Chronicles 2. I was a pretty big fan of the first one. The second one is lesser so, but I still really enjoyed it. I'll speak more to that in a second. And then the other one that I watched is one that I know you've also seen, which was Jingle Jangle, which was an original story. I'd never quite seen anything like it. But what I will say about the Christmas Chronicles movie, because I don't think that they're well beloved by people with, sort of more critical eyes. Like they are Christmas movies and they're whimsical Santa Claus stories. I really thoroughly enjoy. There's something charming to me about watching, especially in Christmas Chronicles 2. Those who saw Christmas Chronicles 1 will know that Kurt Russell, who plays Santa Claus, at the end, he goes home to the North Pole. Mrs. Claus comes in and brings food and whatever, and it is revealed to be Goldie Hawn, which was really cute and a wonderful a wonderful little cameo. Well, in Christmas Chronicles 2, they're both in it, and they both have substantive, things to do within the story. But I love the charm of those films. There is something just a bit lighthearted and upbeat about them. They're not the kind of thing that if you're looking for some really thought-provoking kind of Christmas story, you're not going to find that in these. But they're heartwarming and they're fun and they're silly in all the ways that I really enjoy and appreciate about the holiday. So I really love those. But then pivoting away from that, what I love so much about Jingle Jangle, and I had said this to some friends, including yourself, that I had, when I recommended it, I said, it's really difficult to find Christmas-based whimsical stories that are not centered around Santa Claus. If it's a Christmas story, it's probably going to be like a drama, sort of an earthy drama. It might be of some adaptation of A Christmas Carol or some like version of it. Or if it's whimsical at all, it's going to be about Santa Claus. Jingle Jangle is very whimsical, but Santa does not play any part. And it's a musical and it's energetic. One thing I will say is you feel the length a bit as you're making your way through it. But I found it very uplifting, and I found it really different and quite original, with some really touching and moving songs. And I highly, highly recommend Jingle Jangle for your holiday, outing, if you will, if you're looking for something new and fun and different. So those are my recommendations.
I've seen neither of the neither CC1 nor CC2. I did watch Jingle Jangle. I think when it is good, it is fantastic. It's highly innovative, just fun. Yeah. I do think it could have benefited from probably about 15 to 20 minutes cut out. Just, I'm not saying something real specific, just it does to me drag a good bit at certain spots, but it's highly innovative, amazingly rendered. There's some animated sequences that are really lovely. Just a fun, I'm with you. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that has been your Christmas, my just sort of sad what you're watchins, and take us out, Island Crew.
What you watching? What you reading? What you listening to?
Nice.
Awesome.
See, I mentioned, I directly mentioned, but just didn't say who they were. High school peer earlier. Chase and I, Chase Island, who is the patriarch of the clan you just heard sing, and I went to middle school together. That's how far back that goes.
Friendship.
Long time. But Reed, we got a lot to get through today. We're gonna crawl our way around here. But next week we've got a Santa's bag full of guests. Today we've got our penultimate appearance, sadly, until we do some other sort of list-based series of Lackey the Listicle, my occasionally listless list-making lackey.
Oh, hi everybody.
Oh man, you know what I love?
Little elf on the shelf lackey that's just like.
One other little fun note pitch for the Facebook group. I love how I can't remember if it was last week or a couple of weeks. No, it was a couple of weeks ago. Where I had brought up, I was like, "What is this? Is this the anti-penultimate or whatever it is?" And like two people on the Facebook group, particularly Vera, posted like the video where I had heard the word pre-anti-penultimate but could not conjure it. And so I love our Facebook fans. They're always like, "Yep, here it is."
They're always like, "You were wrong."
They do not have that spirit though.
I know.
They give it with a little wink and a bow on it, saying like, "Here you go."
What's really
this
funny,
is what you're looking for.
And you know this. What's really funny is we record these in a bit of a disjointed kind of release schedule. It's like
right
2 weeks ago we recorded for this one. So actually I think it was Jacob saying, and hopefully I'm correct here, but this most recent one it was like, I don't know, 8 a.m. Eastern time. He was like the passive defender and references that. I was like, whoa. Wow.
So great.
You listened to that quick. And I guess that's this episode, isn't it? The one that released. So yes, I do love our foggers as well. They're great folks. So speaking of foggers, Lackey the Listicle.
Yes. So this is the
we got to look at this list.
Yeah. So this is the top 10 listener voted horror films of 2019. Now I have to make a special notation. This is entirely my fault. This is all my fault. Blame only me. When I'm building, Nathan, as you know, like Nathan just said passively, that he doesn't look at the list. He kind of depends on me to put together the surveys, to gather the nominees, and then he posts them to our website and do all of that fun, good stuff. So, and listeners, you depend on me to put all of the nominees in there. But there is a very big, very important, very glaring omission from the nominees of the 2019, and it is my fault. It is entirely my fault. Because when I was researching all of these years, I was looking through horror films and thrillers and everything, and this did not pop up in my historical investigations of of things that are like, oh yeah, what are the nominees for these films? And if I had only looked at the Fear of God original list, I would have seen it. But unfortunately, Bong Joon-ho's masterpiece Parasite was not
What?
even
WTF?
among. I know it was not
Reed,
even among.
I was
the
about
nominees.
to let you off the hook and absolve you of your self-flagellation here, but
no. Now
Nope.
you're like, give me the whip. Like,
yeah,
let me
it's
take care of it.
honorary #1 now.
Yeah. Well, that's what I even wrote. I was even going to say, I wrote this little speech on my little notes, but thank you for, intuiting where I was going. I said, so we're just going to, given that it won Best Picture and everything, and I didn't even have the courtesy to include it among the nominees. Now, the only thing I will say is, and it clearly we don't pitch it well enough, is that is why, like, little things like that are why we put the little thing down at the bottom which says write something we forgot. Nobody else
Sure.
remembered it too, but it's on me
Yeah,
for not including it
don't
among the
blame them.
nominees. I'm not blaming
I'm
them.
just
I'm very
blaming
clearly owning I left it off the list. So it's like honorary #1. But yes, Parasite
This
was
is
not
a hell of a
included.
list.
Yeah,
This
and
is
it's
great.
so the only other thing I'll mention before we actually get into it is that I've liked to mention the heavy hitters that didn't make the list. Godzilla King of the Monsters didn't make the list. The remake of Child's Play did not make the list. Velvet Buzzsaw, which we've covered, did not make the list. It Chapter 2, the remake of Pet Sematary, did not make the list. And surprising me, maybe it's not too surprising, but The Lighthouse, Robert Eggers' follow-up to The Witch, it would have been number 11, but it did not make the top 10. So
Also, because it was on the top 10 last year, the Meg is not on here.
No, the Meg is not there. I
So-
purposefully left that. No, I'm just kidding.
That was an intentional omission.
That was, yes. Parasite was an accident. This is
Well,
no, actually,
Hmm.
I think Meg was a nominee, but
Oh yeah, I'm just saying it's not on the top 10.
yeah, I actually think it was 2018 too, but I'm not positive. So
Well, it was in
pretty
with
positive
Godzilla
it was
King of the
2018.
Monster. It was in
No,
that crop
I don't
of
think it was.
movies. Yes, it was. I'm telling
I'm
you, it was
fairly-
on our list that included Godzilla King of the Monsters because that's the same span of time in which
So-
I was watching those.
So this is going to be a really great moment for the Facebook Fear of God group. So on record right now, Nathan is insisting it was among Godzilla King of the Monsters. I am
Yeah.
insisting it was not.
Our 2019 previous list, because remember I was trying to get through the movies, and it was the Meg,
Right.
it was Godzilla King of the Monsters. That was not 2 years ago. But
was
regardless,
2 years ago.
let's.
It was 2 years. We're just going to
No,
leave this in, and we're
it
just going to
wasn't.
see what's going to happen.
It wasn't.
It's
No,
it's great. By this point, you will be able to listen to last week and realize, damn it. But that's okay. So
No,
So-
King of the Monsters was in the same batch. So, but you're going to get to 2019, right?
we'll get to 2019.
Do you have it in
right
front
now.
of you? Now, see, it's not
don't
fair
have-
if you're like, I certifiably know.
Well,
That's like-
I do certifiably know. So that's
That's
so
like
let me
when I
go
was
ahead
in
and-
college and my roommate previous to you,
Mhm.
he loved to sing songs, but he'd always get them wrong. And he was like, he sang the
It's like
Elton
a
John
cartoon
song,
character.
The One, and he sang, and the beast is finally fed. And I was like, no, that's not right. And I
Wow.
was like, no, it's the piece is finally fit. He's like, no, that's not right either. I was like, no, it absolutely is. I tend to try not to make bets if I don't know that I'm going to win, but you're looking at the information right now and are intentionally walking me into a trap and making me feel like a dummy.
No, I didn't walk you into a trap. You
feel walked
asserted
into a trap.
you asserted very vigorously, whereas I'm looking at the fact that in 2018, the listener voted The Meg sat between Mandy and The Endless in 2018, which we talked about last week because I shared the story about how you woke up early. And Godzilla King of the Monsters is a 2019 film.
Okay. Well, slight loophole here. I was asserting that what I was asserting just then was that Godzilla King of the Monsters was 2019. I happened to graft onto that I thought they were in the same crop of movies. So I'm partially right.
Sure. Yeah. Would you like
on to the
evens
list
or odds? Would you like evens or odds?
I'm going to start with your favorite on this list. Number 10, directed by David. Oh, get off your high horse. David Yarovesky. It is the, kind of alt evil Superman tale, Brightburn, directed by James Gunn, right? No. Is that right? No, I just said the damn guy's name. Oh my gosh. Wow. We are not even to our main content yet.
No, this is going to be fun.
He produced somehow. Somehow, someone familiar's name was attached to this that I'm remembering.
Well,
Maybe he
Brightburn is in the same universe as a film Super, starring Rainn Wilson and directed by James Gunn. So that might be what you're connected to. Brightburn
What
is.
are you talking about?
Brightburn
is in the
is
same
revealed
universe.
I didn't even write this. I didn't even write this stuff down. Yes, Brightburn is revealed at the very end of the film to be in the same universe, the same
In
fictional
what way?
universe
I've never
as
seen Super, so I don't
James
know.
Gunn's Super. The character Rainn Wilson plays, who is like an ordinary Joe trying to be a superhero,
Right.
and that film
In-
Super was directed by James Gunn. His character appears at the end in like a newscast filled with a bunch of other pictures of other sort of similar people at the end of Brightburn. And so it was just I don't know that it was anything more than a wink. I don't know that they're trying to create
well,
a shared
to be fair,
universe. But
James Gunn produced Brightburn. That's
oh, did
what
he?
I was
Oh, see, I didn't know that
Yes,
he produced it, but
yes, and that's what I was remembering. Oh my Lord. Brightburn is I enjoyed it, but you know,
would.
oh my God. Says jingle jangle. I'm just kidding. It's a fun movie. No, I think Brightburn is pretty good. I mean, like, I don't know what you thought you wanted out of this movie that the trailer didn't tell you it already was going to give you, but you came with the wrong expectations. You sip that schnapps. That
species.
This is an appropriate send-off for our year. So Brightburn is number 10. Good movie. Don't listen to Reed on this one. 9. What is it, Reed?
Yeah. Okay, so number 9, I got to give a shout out to listener David Pooler because, man, he championed this film.
He just swerved on the road too, just like James.
He's like, oh my God. So one of the cool things about compiling the 2019 list is that literally right up to the hour before we began to record, that's when I cut off the votes for it. And David Pooler had chimed in and was like, hey, y'all, there's still time to get this film in the top 10. Well, it worked, David, because number 9, directed by Richard Stanley and starring the one and only Nicolas Cage, is Color Out of Space. And the reason I'm shouting him out is because he specifically was like, oh, y'all, come on, make this movie happen. I like the movie a lot.
That's the only one on this list I didn't see.
It's it's pretty great. It's gruesome and has, not for the gore, nauseous, like, the people who don't like extreme sort of graphic body horror type stuff. But it is a really fascinating film, wonderfully effective, and yeah, so it is your number 9 on the list, and I want to give a shout out to Dave Pooler for championing it. So
at number 8 on the list, directed by Andre Ovredal, whose name has popped up on other lists. Directed what?
Yes, Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Okay. He directed last year's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I did see and thought was okay.
Yeah.
Did not love.
I responded very positively to it, especially the imagery in it. I thought it was really, really well captured the spirit of the books
well,
that it's based
I'll
on.
totally agree with you on that. Yeah. It was very haunting.
So for time's sake, we're going to sort of try to brisk through the rest of this. Number 7, a film that I really did enjoy, delighted me, directed by Christopher Landon. It is the sequel, Happy Death Day to You. We covered the first Happy Death Day on Fog episode 86, and and that film landed in 3rd place in our 2017 top 10 list. But Happy Death Day to You, which we have not covered, landed at number 7 on this list, and I like it a lot. It delights me.
At number 6, featured on Fear of God episode 164, with guest Fear of God artist extraordinaire Jacob Hunt, who might be making an appearance soon. We also did a little bonus episode on this film with film critic Robin Barr. It is Todd Phillips's Joker, a fascinating film.
Really? Indeed.
That's one of those few, like, I can even see and don't invalidate the criticisms of it, and yet still find it a pretty captivating.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I'm not going to, challenge that it's not problematic, but still it's incredibly interesting.
Good flip.
So number 5 is our featured coverage today. It is directed by Alexandre Aja. It is Crawl. So we will be speaking extensively about this film in just, another little bit. So yes, number 5 on your list, directed by Alexandre Aja, is Crawl.
Number 4 is directed by Matt Bettinelli Olpen and Tyler Gillett, covered on Fear of God episode 167 as part of our 2019 roundup, right? We did
I
Ready or
believe
Not,
it was.
Joker,
Yeah.
and a couple others.
Parasite.
Which
And
good
I
thing
just shoved it in the basement. I was just like,
the good thing the Academy didn't. Respect. Is number 4 on this list is Ready or Not, which is just a great flick. Really, really fun. Really, just really exceptional at what it does.
No, couldn't agree more. Number 3, directed by our beloved and frequently discussed Mike Flanagan. It is the sequel to The Shining, and I think a brilliantly executed adaptation, Dr. Sleep. It featured as our quarterly king, number 7, and it's a film I love, and honestly, I would use the word cherish a little bit. I think it's got some special things going on in it, and I love it. It's number 3 on your list.
And if someone hasn't watched this yet, personally, I would steer you directly to the director's cut. I think.
Yes, agreed.
I saw the theatrical first, thought it was okay, and found a lot to really love and appreciate about the director's cut. And again, if you haven't, I don't do this often, so it shouldn't be perceived as pure, patting ourselves on the back here. But I love our conversation on that quarter.
Me too. No, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Very powerful. Number 2 on the list, covered on episode 129, is Us, directed by Jordan Peele.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't rewatched this. Have you?
To my surprise, no. And the reason I say to my surprise is because I probably think multiple times each week, I want to rewatch Us sometime soon, but then I just never make the time for it. I think part of it is I want to kind of be in the right headspace when I dive back into it. But fascinating film that I adore. Is there a right
headspace for that?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's a really
Maybe that's why you never get around to it.
Yeah, but yeah, it was of course Jordan Peele's earlier film Get Out topped 2017's list, but I actually think I like Us more, and I have been meaning to get back to it. I own it, but I haven't made the time to rewatch it yet. I should. I really should. Maybe for Christmas. That feels wrong. That feels off.
You know what? It's funny about you saying that. I'm pretty sure it was last Christmas. I wanted to watch a movie. The family was all down, like as in asleep in bed.
Yeah.
The children were nestled all snug in their beds after their Christmas. And I watched, dadgummit, what was the name of that movie?
Meg.
No, that was 2015. I watched, is it called American something? It's the viral video in the town goes crazy, the high school girls. It was like very recent.
Oh, I haven't seen it. It's the
okay.
Is it Assassination Nation?
Yes.
I haven't seen it yet. I know the premise.
Right. Yes,
I believe that's what it is.
It was not a good choice for a Christmas night.
Not Happy Christmas. Yeah,
I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. Why did I do this? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's actually a pretty good horror flick, but it is not the taste you want in your mouth at the end of December 25th.
No.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. Number 1.
Okay.
Reed.
Number 1, directed by Ari Aster, featured on Fear of God, episode 166, which featured former literary correspondent Meredith Curran.
Yes.
And Ari Aster's earlier film, Hereditary, had landed at number 3 on 2018's top 10. That's right. Number 1 is Midsommar, which I also...
What a flick. Also, yes.
I also recommend the director's cut. Now, that is one where if you see the original, unlike Dr. Sleep, where I think you are missing something if you don't see the director's cut, the director's cut of Midsommar is really great, but I don't think you're missing anything fundamentally from the experience of the film to watch the theatrical cut, if that's all you see. I think the director's cut is worth it if you love the film. I think it's absolutely worth it and adds a lot. But Dr. Sleep, I almost would say you haven't seen the film unless you've seen the director's cut.
Midsommar is one of those movies I have great affection for, but it is absolutely the kind of movie that people who aren't fogheads, aren't foggers, are like, you have problems.
Why
I'm
you
like,
watch this
no,
movie?"
but it's so amazing when they jump off the rock and that dude bashes his head in with Ronan's hammer.
And then the nudity running around like
The
everywhere.
nudity.
Yeah, that's an intentional. It's not nudity. It's dudity.
Oh. Oh my God. Oh.
So
between and someone's just like, your penis, and they're like, yeah, nudity.
That's the one. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Wow, I have not heard that phrase before.
So that was Midsommar was your number one. While Nathan pulls up the top box office grosses for 2019, I'll briefly run through the historical top 10 of 2019. So actually, number 10 last time was Brightburn. So appropriately sort of nestled
You
right
say number
there.
10 was?
Number 10 was
It's a
Brightburn
good
last
flick.
time around.
It's produced by James Gunn.
Not everybody's right all the time. But so number 9, number 9, which you were earlier remembering, just slightly off, was Godzilla King of the Monsters, which in the updated list dropped entirely off.
To be fair, no. What I was remembering that was off was the Meg. I was correctly remembering Godzilla King of the Monsters.
That is true. That is absolutely 100% accurate. Number 8, which is completely my fault that it didn't make the updated list. Number 8 was Parasite. So who knows if it would have landed on the updated list, but we don't know because I didn't.
It would have, but
sure.
We'll never know.
And you know what? I really should have, and it's my own fault because if Parasite had been on the updated list, Brightburn would have been knocked off. So it's my own. It's my own fault. That's the punishment of the karma of being like, you know what? You're gonna leave Parasite off the list. Brightburn's still in the top. So
one of the brightest spots of this year, and you were like, nah, it don't deserve recognition.
Oh my God, I feel awful. I love that movie. Okay, so number 7 was It Chapter 2, which also dropped off the updated list entirely. Wow, this guns a blazing. I feel like the alligators are like already coming for me. So okay, so that was number 7 last time around. Number 6 was Happy Death Day to You, which dropped down to number 7 in the updated list, but was still a favorite at that point. Number 5 was Ready or Not, which rose to number 4. Dr. Sleep was number 4 and rose to number 3. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Number 3 was Midsommar. And this is the only time in these historical lists that something that wasn't already number 1 rose to number 1. So I do find that fascinating. Midsommar was number 3 when we did this last time. And it has since captivated the imagination of our listeners to rise to number 1, which I find really fascinating. Number 2, also quite fascinating, was Joker, which plummeted to number 6, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's that sort of like whiplash. What's the one I'm looking for? That
the proximity
kind of
bias, and then when we did this list, everybody's talking about Joker, so it's it's really in our mindset,
right.
And then a little bit of time, a little bit of distance. Maybe I don't like that film as
well,
much as
and
I thought, and blah blah blah.
Watchin was winning left and right.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah. So it dropped all the way down to number 6, and the historical number 1 was Us. No longer the champion, but still highly favored in the new list at number 2. So that was.
I don't know if you pay attention to this stuff. Do you have any clue what Ari Aster's working on next?
I don't, but all he needs to do is drop a trailer, and I'm in, man. Like he's got.
It's funny the way you just phrased response to Midsommar, capturing the imagination. He does that. I mean, like. That's really an accurate way to describe it. Reed, shall we go to the box office?
Let's do it.
We need to just. This is it for the worldwide box office.
Yeah.
After this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only slightly joking. Because
I know.
Warner Brothers, like 3 days ago, to the vehemence in response to many filmmakers and talent, shunted their entire 2021 slate to home release, which I, as a consumer and a parent and someone who's conscientious of a pandemic, am kind of thankful for, but can understand why talent who didn't know this was coming and feel sideswiped now didn't.
Yeah.
But you have just cratered what used to be a signature metric for how to determine success, which hear me, I don't, I don't have enough of a historical vantage point on the film industry to know when, in a literal sense, box office became king in terms of the literal dollars it made. You know, we always
Right.
want them to make, or they always wanted to make money, all that sort of stuff. But it's going to be a wild couple of years in the next.
It really
few,
will.
because it is not just in terms of production and what and when things get made, but how success is gauged.
Yes.
Because, you know, if Warner Brothers follows the Netflix model, they're not going to release any of that information.
No,
unless it's just staggering, you know.
Sure,
like,
right, of course. Unless they can make it impressive, they'll keep it to themselves.
which even then is going to be a version of impressive.
Correct. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, listeners who are troubled or who have feelings on the whole move to HBO Max thing owe it to themselves to at least read the article, and I forget what the publication made it because I think I saw it more than one place, that Patty Jenkins was interviewed about the release of Wonder Woman on Christmas Day, and has some really thoughtful and insightful opinions about it, and basically lands, if I can grossly summarize it, she basically lands as there was no good option. Like there was no, like if you wait for theaters to be back up and running, everything gets released at the same time and it skews the numbers that way because everybody's fighting to see the same things at the same time. That's not a good option. You release it to streaming, you have these external ramifications of what that means to the industry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're curious about this topic and want to hear you know, from someone who I consider to be very thoughtful and gave a really compelling sort of response to how we should feel about all of this, definitely check out Patty Jenkins' thoughts on that.
To be fair to Patty, though, and I thoroughly enjoyed the first Wonder Woman. I anticipate, I haven't actually read any reviews. I just know general consensus on the second one seems pretty positive. In fairness, Wonder Woman was an isolated event until all of a sudden it wasn't. So
correct.
Who knows the sequence of that? And my understanding of that scenario is she was basically handed $10 million saying, hey, we know we're doing this. Sorry, here's 10 mil. So anyone's going to be like, you know, I think the pragmatics make sense. You know,
it's like, I could get on board with this if we're going to.
Meanwhile, Chris Nolan is setting Hollywood on fire, and not just with COVID.
He's just walking in, knocking stuff over.
Oh, Chris Nolan, the creature from the Black Lagoon. Bless his heart. My goodness.
I know,
anyway, here we are. 2019 worldwide box office will never be here again. At number 11. Fast and the Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, coming at you.
Oh boy. Oh
yeah,
boy.
muscle bound boys. That's number 11. Numbers 10 through 6. Numbers 10, Jumanji, The Next Level.
Lord of mercy.
Number 9, Aladdin, which I still have not seen in its entirety. The live action, of course. The Guy Ritchie. What in the world?
Not Guy Ritchie. No. What?
Yeah,
Aladdin? Aladdin is Guy Ritchie?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to yield to you because I don't know it, and I'm not confident enough that it's not.
Well, because of the fact that you had certitude on your side on the Meg versus Godzilla, we're going to do this real quick. So what did we just say? Aladdin. Go in there right now. Aladdin, directed by Guy Ritchie.
Wow.
Right there, IMDb.
Wow.
Yes. Still haven't seen it. Number 8, a movie I loved, Toy Story 4. Love it.
Yes.
Number 7, a movie that is a loathsome pile of dung. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Wow.
Thank God for The Mandalorian. Amen and amen. Praise be.
I have spoken.
Number 6. Number 6. Yes, exactly. This is the way, Mando. Not there, JJ. Number 6, Todd Phillips' Joker.
Okay.
All right. So now we're getting into the top 5 here. It's reading this list, you're going to be like, that was like a different, it's like in Lord of the Rings when the age of elves has ended and the age of men is beginning. Like this is it feels epic turning,
wow.
you know?
Wow.
Number 5, okay movie. Great for what it is. and what it represents. Huge box office, that is Captain Marvel, the Carol Danvers
Oh,
entry
okay.
into the
Yeah.
MCU.
Mhm.
Number 4, really great MCU flick, Spider-Man Far From Home with our boy Jakey G.
I do enjoy Far From Home. It's great.
That's a great take on that character. Really love
It really
that.
is. Yeah.
Number 3, what I found a pretty paper thin sort of story, but they tried. Frozen 2 at 1.4 billion. I was
okay.
not tracking there. So Captain Marvel was 1.1 or 1.12. Spider-Man was 1.13. Frozen 2 was almost 1.5.
Mhm.
At 1.6, also have not seen, was Disney's live action ish The Lion King. Did you see that?
Okay. So you should check out Aladdin because they do a couple of different things that are charming enough that you will enjoy it. And I actually enjoyed Will Smith's Genie, and I have not enjoyed a performance from Will Smith in a little bit of time.
If you can say that, knowing your love of Robin Williams, I can
Yes.
maybe accept that this
Yes.
might be worth watching.
Yes. So I liked
Because
his
that was
very
one of my
different take.
holdups. I was like,
Okay, yes. No, he's different enough. That's the thing. Is like he's not even trying to do the same kinds of things which was smart. He's just trying to be Will Smith's Genie as opposed to Robin Williams's Genie, and that was smart. And so for that, Aladdin kind of endeared itself to me. I found Lion King to be a very sad disappointment because it is.
I heard that a lot.
Yes,
because it's like what, shot for shot almost, right?
Well, yes, the story is incredibly the same, and unfortunately, the biggest missing piece. I know you love Chiwetel Ejiofor, but his Jafar is not.
I've heard
not great. It's a very different, more subdued and subtle take, which does not work. You need Jeremy Irons. That's the thing. It's like you need Jeremy Irons to be like, I will be king.
Right.
like that force.
I love Chiwetel, yes,
force,
but he's not a scene chewer.
No, absolutely not. It's missing it. It's really missing it. So yeah, that's it.
I just the other day, just for kicks, just to have something on, turned on Serenity. I love that movie. You remember he's in that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
He's
the main.
I think that was my first awareness of him.
Yeah, he's great.
Yes, he's great. Number 1, fittingly.
Oh, I know number 1.
Appropriately.
Absolutely.
Beautifully. On your left, Reed. It is Avengers Endgame at just shy of $2.8 billion. What?
Good Lord.
What? Like, I've been listening, just random Whatcha listening. Been listening binge mode, which I referenced during my conversation with Ian on Star Wars. Binge mode, which is an acquired taste in terms of their tone and personalities. I know, pot kettle black. But it's a podcast series. They are currently doing the MCU. However, an acquired taste they are, I am owning that. If you go listen to it and be like, oh my God, they're about as academic a pair of nerds as you're going to find engaging genre material. They've done Star Wars, they've done Harry Potter, they've done the comic book series Saga. They're now doing the MCU, and I can't listen to every episode because there's a lot of them and they're long, but I'm listening to some highlights like Winter Soldier and First Avenger. I haven't gotten to Infinity War and Endgame yet because those aren't out, but it's just getting me in that MCU spirit, and it's a lot of fun.
Right.
So
no, that's great.
MCU.
I mean, Avengers Endgame, if this is, and it definitely will be for a while, but if this is like the last ride of the great box office epics, it feels alarmingly appropriate that it's Avengers Endgame because of the 10-year journey that was. And yeah, it's
I'm no conspiracy theorist, but what if Kevin Feige had something to do with
let me cripple the industry. Then maybe he's like, nobody else is gonna be able to do this.
You know what? We're done here.
He's
I'm the Feige.
He
no one else.
He called I am inevitable. Like, oh man.
Wow. All right, Reed, we are finally here.
Yeah, so listeners, we took a lot of time and hopefully you had a lot of fun with us while we did that. But that puts I had a blast. But now we are going to venture into our very specific Christmas 2020 coverage of Alexandre Aja's Crawl. This was Quentin Tarantino cited this as his favorite film of 2019. Of all things, he cited this as not favorite genre film of just like, but this was his favorite film of 2019. I want to get a couple of bits of trivia out of the way. Did you manage to do any looking up? I only have two.
I tried, and they're literally all about the dog, and I was like, "Are you serious? This is really what's happening here?"
I think
Like the first 2 or 3 are about the dog, and I thought, okay, I'll get past those. There's
No.
only about a dozen, and they are all about the dog. I
Yes.
couldn't believe it.
Yes, what's really, really funny is because listeners may not know that random IMDb users can add trivia to IMDb, and it has a little bit of moderation to where it makes sure that you don't write anything like obscene or vulgar or whatever, but they don't fact check it or anything, and people can write. I guarantee you, the trainer who worked on that movie with that dog went in and just like, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say, because that's all it is.
Hey, Mom, go post.
That's right.
Sugar was so good.
In a movie about alligators, there's
Right.
more
Yes.
trivial attention
Right.
paid to
I
that.
went looking because I was like,
dog.
how did they make this? What? I know there was some magicry going on here, but how do they do it? The dog. You
Look,
named him after the dog?
that's it, and that's all. So yeah, most of the trivia is about the dog. The only other thing that I was going to mention is that this is not my first film that I've seen by Alexandre Aja. We almost covered his film High Tension, but pivoted away from it for some content concerns.
I can tell this story real quick. It's real quick.
Yeah, sure.
It was one of our first outings with Vera.
Yes.
At this point, she's old hat, whatever. Sorry, Vera. Whatever content we're going to, you're on board. But it was early goings with our favorite Canadian. And
we have a lot of Canadians. Let's be careful
we
with
do.
This whole favorite
thing. With our favorite Canadian named Vera Gowdy. Okay. And I have to check myself. My spirit won't let me sometimes when I'm talking to my kids. I'm like, you're my favorite. And I say their name in the world.
Oh, yes.
It gives me the out. It's like I can't say that you're my favorite kid. That's not appropriate.
Right.
But yes, our favorite Vera Gowdy in the world, who happens to be Canadian. I started Haute Tension.
Yes.
And there's a rather. It isn't graphic in terms of what you see, but there's no obscuring. It's not suggested, but this rather obscene sexual act performed with a non-living part of a body. It is so off-putting that I remember watching that on my couch, texting both of y'all and be like, we might need to pivot. I don't know. I haven't really hung with Vera much yet, and this might be a little much.
Like, can we
and I didn't know what the rest of the movie held. So anyway,
yeah,
that's
of course. Anyway, yeah. So we almost, but then didn't, and I still haven't seen it to this day. But what I have seen, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is because there was a whole slew of Michael Bay produced remakes of classic horror films, and they were like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they had remade House of Wax, and they've remade some that are obscure and some that are a little bit more prominent, like Nightmare on Elm Street. High Tension is not far. What you saw of High Tension is not far from what you would be subjected to in Aja's The Hills Have Eyes. That having been said, the rest of the filmmaking is just so strong that I really came to quite appreciate, and I would even dare say enjoy his remake of it. So, but that's my primary other film that I've seen by him. Have not yet made it to Horns, which stars Daniel Radcliffe. I did see. I did see.
You're a flautist, Harry.
I did see the Kiefer Sutherland horror film Mirrors, which was directed by him, and I found really, really scary at the time that I saw it, but I haven't revisited it yet. But anyway, that's it for my trivia bits.
Did you see Crawl in the theaters?
No. I saw it for the first time when it made its, as frequently was the case, with its proximal video on demand sort of release.
Isn't it weird that in 24, 36 months, referencing a movie that's due out in the next year, we'll be like, did you watch that movie in your living room?
Yes.
And you'll be like, yes, I did.
I did.
No, that one was in the bathroom. I'm like, oh, okay. TMI.
How did you do that?
Right.
So no, I saw it at home, and I enjoyed it. You know what's really
is this
funny?
your second viewing?
This is my second viewing, and I liked it a lot. It's funny because I remember and our conversation on The Shallows. If you have not yet listened to our conversation on The Shallows, we mined some things from the thematics of The Shallows that maybe the film had in its subtext, or maybe it didn't. But I had a lot of in terms of just pure cinematic narrative storytelling, I had a lot of sort of comparable Shallows vibes to Crawl, except with a tremendous amount more energy and a brisker pace. And obviously you have more than just one character, so there's a lot more sort of dramatic tension between the different people who are trying to interact with each other. But you know, comparable to this whole like survival against all odds, natural predator kind of thing. But no, I mean, I greatly enjoyed it. Was this your first time seeing? This was your second time seeing it as well, right?
I actually, so yeah, I did see it in the theater. One of those rare instances in 2019, where I kind of stole away. I don't remember exactly the context of being able to do that, but just by myself, it had been getting some buzz, and honestly, I liked it in the theater, but I think the buzz at the time dampened a little bit of my energy.
Understood.
Watching it for this, I loved it. I thought it was
awesome. Yeah.
Thrilling and fun. And I'm glad you brought up the Shallows, because I was like, this is so much better than the Shallows.
Wow.
Which is fine. There are two different versions of similar ideas. I just think this one is a bit more just entertaining, to be frank.
I don't know that I disagree, because I think it's undeniably more energetic, and it's swifter, and so there's a kinetic nature to it that is more, I think, entertaining. I find the Shallows more thoughtful, which one could say, if that's what you're into, might mean that you would prefer the Shallows to Crawl. But I do think that for pure sort of galvanizing, suspense-laden entertainment, Crawl would be the winner between the pair of them, even though I definitely, you know, prefer the Shallows to the what you did. But yeah, I'm not fighting too hard.
So if you were hanging with a person,
okay,
post, you know, like, I guess it's either your kid or your wife, because I guess no one's coming over these days, but probably not. Let's pretend that you can hang with somebody.
Okay.
And they're like, you play your movie game to pick what movie you want to watch.
Yeah,
and it's down to the Shallows and Crawl. Which one are you going to pick?
I mean, again, it just depends on the vibe of the moon.
I would the vibe of the moon.
The vibe of the room. I might have said moon, but I meant the vibe of the room. So because I was thinking movie, but I will say this: if I'm hanging with just one other person, I might pick Shallows. If I'm hanging with a group, it's Crawl, no doubt. Like, because Crawl is more of a crowd pleasing kind of movie.
Yeah,
but if I'm hanging I'm hanging with just one other guy, and I'm going to be wanting to like talk about certain things out, you know, after the movie's over, I might talk about the Shallows with that. You know, so
I love the specificity that just got baked into that. If I'm hanging with a guy, and I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, a gal, you know, whatever.
Sure.
An
individual.
Yeah. See, this is why you're just maybe a better human than me. I'm like, life is too short. Life is too short to revisit stuff you're mediocre on. And the further I get from the Shallows, it sounds like it. I think it's fine. It was fun. I did not dislike the viewing of it, but it's in watching something like this that puts it into more stark relief of like, oh, this is it. I texted my dad during this movie. I was like, you might enjoy this movie. You ought to check it out. Like, utterly out of the blue. Like, he just enjoys movies and watches random stuff sometimes. I would have not done that with the Shallows. Again, random level of specificity I'm responding to in kind. Okay, we can talk about Crawl. So yeah, I had seen it once theater, and then now. Did you have other trivial bits? Did you say?
So, not trivial bits. I have, you know, we can move into
hot takes.
Not hot takes. No. I mean, I've just got my next section is on my likes, dislikes, or whatever. I will say, like, right out the gate, I think the way the opening 15 minutes introduces us to the different character dynamics and the backstory is really impressive, because it's blatantly expositional. It's all just, here's the information you need to know about the people that are involved in this movie, and it's just sort of handed to you, and yet somehow it feels organic and it's in the context of the story that we're given. So it was impressive to me that it's like, hey, take a director, here's your script, and wow, these first 15 minutes are super expositional, but I need to craft my shots and my pacing and the way these characters play off of each other in a way that makes it feel organic and natural. And I think he does a really good job at doing that. So the opening 15 minutes, I was like, no, this is it's
efficient.
Good.
Yes,
it is
it
terribly
does well
efficient.
what it needs to do.
Yes.
I do want to real quick, because I started to have the impulse to refer to her and she. The stars of this film, Kaya Scodelario plays the character Haley, and her father is played by Barry Pepper. Those are your main.
Yes.
There's a couple other tertiary characters, or secondary in that regard.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'll say this out of the gate: the apex predator callback or call and response in the script, initially I didn't like at all. I was like, that was so cheesy.
Oh, okay. Sure.
But has a great payoff at the end of it.
It really does. Yeah.
And
when she makes it to the boat.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Enough to be like, okay, I will forgive what I didn't enjoy the first time in terms of them saying
sure.
that. I didn't reference the exposition, but so random insight here. Of my list here, I've got about 4 likes, dislikes, and then about 20 scares. I just kept writing stuff under scares. Yeah.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Glad we're there. So
seconded.
I mean, dang, the first 10 minutes of her driving through the storm, I was like, this is so stressful.
Really harrowing.
Not,
right. Yes.
Not fun at all. I mean, Riri, come on. Like, hopefully the day will come that, who knows, 3-4 years down the line, maybe Fear of God is big enough. We have like a conference and we can actually like meet foggers. That'd be really cool.
That'd be awesome.
So people where I was going with this is, at that moment of time, people will be like, Nathan is a large beast, hairy beast. And this is belied by the fact that her walking around in flip-flops and then nothing under the house. I was like, no, thank you. Like, I am not, I hate, this is so like peek behind the curtain. I hate being gross and dirty. This is so, I can't believe I'm sharing this. But now, to be fair, if I know that, okay, yeah, see, this is the difference. If I know, okay, we're going to go, I'm trying to think of, I'm going to go shovel mulch. I did this year. Shovel mulch in the yard for like hours. Okay, well, I know this needs to be done. I know I'm going to go outside. I'm going to dress accordingly, go outside and do this dirty task.
It's just going to get filthy. Right.
The difference is, if Haley, like she doesn't know, she's trying to go save dad. I get that. But
sure, like
the fact that then she's in flops and then not, and then slinking around in the mud under the house and cobwebs, and I'm like, no, I can't. That I can't handle. Like, I get it. Be careful if you ever need me in a pinch.
Yeah,
and it involves dirtiness. It's not.
But like, no.
You will get me eventually, but it will be under great duress.
You might brave the hurricane and then discover I'm under the house and be like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I don't know where he is.
Hey,
I don't know where he is.
You good, right?
You just hang out down there.
Nathan, the water's rising. There's gators.
Gators.
Oh no.
Bye.
Boy, bye.
Oh, Lord of mercy.
So, I'm gonna say a love.
Okay.
It's at the end of the movie. So if you don't know what this movie's about, it's really quite simple. It's effectively a climate change horror movie with gators as the primary natural antagonist, if not the hurricane force weather. Right. This character Haley is looking for her dad to get out of the South Florida, and he's stuck under the house for reasons. But they eventually get free. Reed, I love that in this movie, the dad and the dog make it. I love that.
Yes.
And not just because I'm a dad, but maybe a little, but because I was like, what was there? There was something we watched recently where Anna and the Apocalypse.
That's where the dad doesn't survive.
Yeah.
Right.
And
spoiler alert for Anna and the Apocalypse.
Sorry.
My bad.
Because there's this felt need from a scripting standpoint to be like, okay, our protagonist has to learn this lesson about self-determination and, like coming into their own. I love that the dad makes it. It's not a cheat. They all kind of have this cool arc. Yeah. Their own individual arcs, but kind of corporately together. Yeah. Right. I just really enjoyed.
hard
didn't-
one too, because the dad's loses his arm, and you think like that's going to be, you know, the end of it and everything. We were talking about the dog further. I did read that the dog was originally supposed to die. Sugar. The dog was originally supposed to die, but then some things
come on.
changed around and they didn't. And it's like, no, don't
That ain't
don't
right.
kill the dog. No. No, I get what you're saying. I really like it. I love, and I feel it's so earned after everything that they go through. I love that final shot. Well, it's a beautifully structured shot in general, but the final shot, she's fired the flare, gotten the attention of the helicopter. The helicopter is over them with the light from the helicopter, you know, bleeding down on them in this torrent of rain, and she's got her arm extended because she, you know, was firing the flare, and just that really awesome look she gives over her shoulder to her dad that is very much sort of expressing this whole like, I cannot believe we made it. We freaking made it. And it was a really awesome choice. It's just great. Like, you get that because this movie puts them both through the ringer, and then they make it to the roof. They are going to be rescued, and then she gives that really great, you know, sly smile back into the camera. She's looking at her dad, but you know, like, we did this. And then it busts right into that old, you know, like, see you later, alligator. Like, it's just like,
great.
it's just, you talking about the pure entertainment value of it. Like, that's a director who knows what kind of story he's telling, how to pay it off well, and deliver it, you know, in a way that's tongue in cheek without being, you know, cheesy or, you know, too frivolous. It's really good. Yeah, it's really, really strong.
That's my likes dislikes.
Well, I have two more then that I'll mention.
Please.
I put man, who loots in a hurricane? They deserve to get it. Like, who's looting in a hurricane, pulling the like friggin' ATM up there? But I did feel bad for old Wayne and Pete, you know. They're like,
oh yeah,
here I come to save the, you know, like, it didn't happen for them. I did think it was certifiable badass when she's got the gun and the one bites her arm, so she starts firing the gun and is just like blowing it away while it is, you know, biting her arm. That was awesome. And you referenced it earlier, her swim to the boat, you know, the apex predator payoff, you know, apex predator all day is just really, really fantastic. Everything else I have would be coded under scares, so I'll let you lead the charge back that way.
Wait, she gets in that house.
Mm-hmm.
She's in that kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that branch came through that window and made me jump. I was like, that branch, a dang just tree branch. That's a movie about alligators, and I'm jumping at the tree branch.
The trees.
Well, let me get to this. Let me do this one, Reed.
Go ahead.
So let me set the stage for you. I'm watching this movie the other night in our den area on the couch. We've got a sectional, you know, it's like the L-shaped thing.
Right.
And my wife is sitting on the short part of the L, just on her phone.
Yeah.
I'm sitting at the end of the L, which is where the armrest is, you know. Got my feet propped up on the ottoman. Got my little headphones on, just Bluetooth into the TV. Got my nice big screen and got Crawl just blaring in my ears.
Lord have mercy.
And Haley is dragging Barry Pepper through the muck and the mud under the house. And I know this is an alligator movie. I know it. Just intellectually in my brain.
Right?
Yeah. Crawl like a alligator.
That's okay.
But there haven't been any gators yet in this movie.
Right.
So, and I've seen it before. But old girl's dragging her daddy across the floor. I'm like,
I know it's a gator movie because I've seen it before.
That's a good daughter. Man, she is strong too to be able to do that. And Barry, I mean, he's just incapacitated. He's no help whatsoever.
Out of it.
She's just dragging daddy under the house, across the floor. And look, there's the stairs. She's dragging to the stairs. And you're like, wow. We're about to be out of this quick. Yeah. And then that dang alligator burst through the bottom of the stairs. And Reed, I scissor kicked the air. I was like, oh my God. My wife was just like shaking her head at me like, you dummy. And I mean, dadgum, poop club. That thing just burst through those stairs.
Lord of mercy. Yeah, it literally like busts in on you in a very alarming and uncomfortable way. But that's not even like, so I was kind of braced at that moment. I don't know if I just remembered that the first one was around that time, but I was kind of braced for that one. What legit got me was the second one, where she turns back and then like the lightning blares and the thing's like jaw open right there. Oh my god! I was watching.
She's trying to call 911.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's when the leg bite happens and it's just like swinging her around like a rag doll.
Lord of mercy.
That's what you're referring to, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean that is the moment that I'm referring to. How that moment begins is where she first like sort of hears something, and when she turns around to look beside her, the lightning flash, and then the alligator is just like present there. And of course, you know, that SOB Aja like, you know, ramps up the sound, and I'm just like, oh my god. It was that got me. Straight up got me.
Now
there's a lot of effective jump scares in this movie.
Oh, that's what I wrote. It says best jump scares in a while. It says that right there.
Absolutely. They're very effective. Yes.
And what I love about it is it's not just a jump scare movie. Like it really uses all of its resources rather well. You know, this is one of the few times I wish I knew a little more about like the medical world. Because it's like she kind of like old girl in Shallows. Now, sure, she's studying for the whole medical thing. She like sews herself up. You're like, I mean, it's good for movie. That's good movie medicine. Is this realistic at all? I don't know. But then in this movie, Haley, she just gets chomped by that second one on her leg. So that happens. She's getting thwacked around up under that house, just slinging her into the pillars there.
Right.
And then I don't even checking this off the list. I'm just talking about Hollywood medicine.
Right.
Then what you already referenced is the one that chomps her arm. I just don't know. I'm ignorant enough to be like, could you still do all the things you're doing with these injuries? Because I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, that's the thing. Like, skipping to the end. Like, at the end when it's like the reason alligators clutch their prey, drag them under the water, and roll around in this whirling dervish kind of way is to disorient their prey and make their prey unable to fight back as it drowns. She somehow is able, while in the midst of a death roll, to reflect on her life. It's flashing before her eyes. Cognizantly register that there is a flare within reaching distance, grab it, and effectively like catch the gator.
It takes her a couple of whirls.
A couple, but we're talking. Have you ever seen on some footage?
Though,
it is a really it absolutely is. But I'm like, if you've ever seen footage of a gator like death rolling its prey, you would know like
there's not a gator in the house.
He's not. It's not like a
shovel.
It's not like a merry-go-round like cycle of like, you know, like he's not. I mean, they spin with this insane, like, I mean, it's completely natural, but with this insane, almost in like supernatural kind of ability to just spin in the water like a
they're
spring
insanely
has
strong.
been released. Well, no, absolutely, but I mean, like the speed is what I'm talking about. The speed at which they twirl when they've got their prey. If you've ever looked up any like footage of alligators death rolling, like it's scary, but like they literally, like it is remarkable.
Read on work breaks. Wonder if there's any new kills out there.
So
yeah, but I'm with you. Oh yeah, I mean, I just think it's hilarious when people like you and I try to talk like we know anything about, you know, the animal kingdom and its its capacity.
Like my study about alligators. Yeah, no, I don't know. But I've seen some footage. I have seen some footage of an alligator death roll, and it is intense. I will say that.
I'm tempted to tell a funny story, but I can't remember all the details, and I'll probably lose my way in it, so I won't. Yeah, so the second alligator that's rough. When Barry Pepper sets his own leg, that ain't right. That is
Ain't
so
right.
nasty.
Yep. Ooh. But then like he can limp on it pretty effectively.
Well,
after that.
Again, my point still, yes, you're making my point for me again. It's like, you are highly mobile for a man whose bloodied stump of a bone shard was just sticking out of his leg
in water carrying a dog. Like he's like no, it's a
this movie sucks. It's so unrealistic.
It's so yes, it is like they would be toast in real scenarios. They would absolutely.
You got to fight, Reed. You got to fight.
Apex Predator all day.
Apex Predator all day. The underwater shot of all the murky water and debris. That's just nasty.
And that's the thing. One of the most unbelievable things for me, you talk about like crawling around in dirt and everything. So I am capable very clumsily of swimming. What I am not capable of doing, sometimes even with goggles, it's a psychological thing, is opening my eyes underwater. And then you layer onto that this is murky swamp water with like muck and poop and whatever else has been like floating around through this thing. I'm like,
that old. No. You just conjured for me the funniest image. Was it Frank? There's this old SNL bit that I think is Steve Martin and another guy in the pool doing this like synchronized swimming routine. Is this ringing a bell for you at all?
It's not. See, I didn't watch much Saturday Night Live.
Well,
I've seen like the iconic classics.
You're a Steve Martin fan. Yeah, well, I mean,
I am a Steve.
Come on.
Yeah, I don't know why I haven't seen it.
This is iconic. It's like 70s era.
Okay.
Anyway, you picturing you the way you were describing yourself, picturing you trying to swim was conjuring that for me. Like the mermaid, darling mermaids. Let's see. Oh, you mentioned the convenience store attack. That is rough.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. I don't even know how many gators we're dealing with.
Canoe gets got.
She gets got.
Oh, Marv gets got. Stan gets got. Did you catch? That
Stanley.
Was an interesting note. Yeah.
I did.
Forget it.
That it's Stan and it's Lee.
Excelsior. And in fact, the other one's name is Marv, which I'm pretty sure is a Marv Wolfman reference, who is a comic creator from the 80s.
Oh, I was thinking it was just Marvel.
Or that. Sure. Pick one.
Sure. One of them. Gator chomp.
Read. Them spiders fall all over her face.
Worst part of the movie. Worst part of the movie. I was just like, give me the gators. Give me the gators. Get these spiders off my face. Oh my God. I can't even.
You watch a movie like this and you're like, what would I do? If you were ever if you were confronted with a big friggin' gator, you're like, I'm dead. I don't know.
I leap into the mouth. That's it. I mean,
just embrace oblivion.
Been fun, y'all. Burn.
Make it quick, please. Make it quick.
hug that gator. Lord have mercy.
Oh my gosh. That might actually be a way to do it. It's just hug it. Get on the underside, just hold on tight.
Oh, that's right. It can't get at you.
Yeah, but you're gonna drown after a while.
After a while, crocodile.
You idiot. Oh,
this is fun.
I do love. So Pete and Wayne, you referenced them.
Yes.
It's like old Matthew Cuthbert in Misery. You're like, all right, someone's
absolutely
might actually yield some effectiveness here.
Hey, Wayne's here. Yeah, hey.
Yeah, Wayne. Hi, Wayne. Hi. So Pete gets eviscerated. He gets just rent by like 4 or 5 of them.
But this is the thing. Do you remember when we were talking about Ash versus Evil Dead, and we had commented about how if you're one of our heroes, the Deadites might be able to cause you some discomfort. If you're not one of our heroes, they will be able to do things with your body. They'll be able to just like send you through some psychic blender.
You forgot your plot armor at home.
Right, exactly.
You
Exactly.
should have put that on before you left the house.
And I feel that way about these. It's like the one alligator like bites her arm, and don't get me wrong, I mentioned it as like one of the most amazing moments of the film, really cool moments of the film. But this one alligator bites her arm, and then she's able to just like fire multiple shots at it.
Yeah.
Poor Wayne and Pete, man, like they don't, no, it's not.
Now I will say this: Wayne getting got from that side shot is pretty awesome.
Oh,
I mean,
it's
it's
all, yeah, oh,
terrible.
great
Wayne,
again, great jump scare, absolutely.
Well, because you're expecting it with the over-the-shoulder shot when it's down, looking down into the chasm. You're waiting for the gator, and then it cuts to a side shot. Like, oh, he's safe. Oh my God, he's not.
Nope. Did you ever see? Do you know what it reminded me of? Did you ever
Tell
see
me.
Deep Blue Sea? Did you ever see Deep Blue Sea?
No, but you're referring to the Sam Jackson film?
Yes, it's been around long enough that it's not too terrible of a spoiler. That like Samuel L. Jackson, who is in the story of Deep Blue Sea, has been like a survivor, and he's survived a couple of natural disasters before, and so he's standing there and he is giving this big hero speech. He's like, "We're gonna bind together. We're gonna do this. What you need to do is you need to listen to me, and you need to take care of this. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this thing." And then as he's like at the height of his speech, a shark leaps up and just grabs him, and he's done. He's out of the movie then. Like, that's it.
Gone.
So Wayne's death reminded me of that kind of moment. So yes.
So gets just rent,
Ugh.
and then Wayne gets got. Then is when Haley stumbles into the nest. That was pretty.
Oh yeah.
That was wicked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're like that little baby gator, but you're like,
No. See you later. So there was I love, as a scare, I love like the helicopter outside the house, and then before they're up on the roof, she's flashing that flare, the one that she eventually catches in the middle of a cyclonic death roll, but she's flashing the flare up there, and then you only have half a second to register that the gator is in the shot before it crashes through the window at her. And that was a really, I almost leapt off the couch. Like,
is that wait?
She's inside the house. So Barry Pepper's lost his arm. She's already trapped the other one in the shower, and so and so then she's in. They see that there's a helicopter cycling, and so then, or do they see that there's a helicopter? Something prompts her to go and try to fire a flare from inside the house,
right,
and try to catch. I thought it was because there was a helicopter, but now I'm losing confidence that that's what's actually happening outside. But she's trying to catch someone's attention with this flare, and then through the window, because the water has risen to where it's consumed at least like 60% of the room. But through the window, you literally see the gator about half a second before it crashes through the window at her, and it's
harrowing. I mean, you're and you're leapfrogging all this aquatic creature talk. You're leapfrogging a couple of significant ones here. I mean, Bubbles, Reed.
Bubbles.
That's when she swims out of the nest, and she's going up the tunnel, and she comes out, and there's one on the surface above her, and her,
I remember that. Yes,
she exhales underwater, or not exhales,
that's
but has air bubbles. I mean, that's just a really great horror movie moment, just watching these bubbles rise to the surface, and they just boop, 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 on the alligator's little tummy. And that's it. That's when she goes for the is that when she goes? No, that's not when she goes. No, I don't remember what she does right there.
Well, she swims away from it, and I think barely makes it back into. I forget if she goes back into. I forget if she gets back into the tunnel or something, but she gets away from it, but very barely.
Very barely. I mean, the eye of the hurricane moment. That's great.
Oh, that is wonderful. Yeah, that's a great shot.
That's the "What are you?" Apex Predator all day. You referenced it. You just glanced off the fact that Barry Pepper loses his arm. My man, like saves Sugar, the dog, sweet
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
That's a highly effective moment
Oh,
because you're just
absolutely.
not even thinking about it. And, you know, there in frame, he's waving the flare and he's like, nah. And then the alligator from behind just chomps his arm and just yanks it right off.
He can be fine though. Like
Snack.
he kind of like, you know,
He's going to be the Winter Soldier.
I mean, honestly, he will be.
Yeah.
Dude, that man still carries Sugar up on the roof. He gets up onto the roof. Man got a broken leg bone hanging out the front.
He got one arm.
He's got one arm.
He's using his teeth, grabbing
carries
that gutter,
dog.
just flipping up over onto the roof.
What a mercy. Still gets up on that roof.
That's a man.
That's a tough guy right there. That's right. I would be gone. I would be long gone multiple times through this film. Embrace
I'd
oblivion
to
indeed.
see the like what if you remade this movie but it's with actual human responses, you know, not like survival character human response, like you know, it's just, but the character still survives, but it's
Right.
it's just complete mess, you know.
Well, because it's not only just
it's
the
all
physics-
just happenstance. It's not
Right.
intentional whatsoever. They make it. It's just
Sure.
accidental survival.
Right. It was like when he loses his arm. I mean, like you would be, you and I would be like, that would be the moment where mental shock would kick in. Like
We'd be the
coherence would
buoy
be
by
done.
the end. We'd have no limbs
Oh, yes.
left, and we'd just be floating out on
Head-
the top of the water.
Head bopping up.
With
My
a
hat just
flare,
like,
a flare in my teeth.
yes, indeed.
Down
indeed.
here. Yeah.
But then
That's-
that,
what?
the last thing that I had was just that, you know, referencing that old gator death roll, but it's got to be the, you know, the lamest
Man
little-
saves Sugar but can't save his own arm. That ain't right. And then the death roll is like
Oh.
it's rough. That is
So,
rough.
what did you have for theme on this movie?
Well, sometimes it feels like when you ask me that, it's because you've got this like alligator's nest worth of stuff you're waiting to hatch on me while I'm just like floating around down
No,
here.
I have something. It is me. It is just me deferring. That is all it is. It is not a trap. It is just me deferring.
I mean, just some lines I wrote down. I mean, I think that it's pretty harrowing, or not harrowing, but just real tragic. You know, she thinks the parents split up because of her, because of the
Right.
time the dad. I will say this. I didn't mention this because it's not just a single moment, but I think they do really well by these two characters' relationship in this film. I mean, they
I
just
agree.
really, you know, I love that he kind of owns his errors as
Yes.
a husband. I did write down thematically the line, "I don't think I deserve one," referencing a second chance.
When they talk
and
about I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just
No,
understanding you about the when they talk about the house and why he didn't sign the papers and everything. Like it's just really, you know,
Remind me.
well, it's basically like he just couldn't let it go. You know, like he couldn't move on. You know, it's not some deep, rich, you know, thematic thing, but it's
Sure.
a really tender moment in the midst of all this sort of chaos. I'm yes-anding that they do really well by these characters' relationships. I agree.
This because they're cut from the same genre cloth, is much an echo of Arcello's conversation, but his line, "We may be stubborn, but we don't give up," really sung out to me. And it's funny, I was really thinking about this today. I don't, you know, as mentioned, have a massive sort of idea to unpack, but when I find myself there and not knowing what is going to reveal itself in the course of our conversation, I will often think about like the title of the film or whatever, and kind of how that plays in. And there's something really interesting that happens, cutting to the chase, the sort of life maxim, "You have to crawl before you can walk," kept coming to me.
Right.
And there's something really interesting that happens in terms of just the body language of this film, which is when she is initiating her investigation of him, like literally going to find him, she is low. She's physically low.
Right.
From a posture standpoint, she is what's the word I'm looking for? Prone, you know.
Prostate? That's
Not-
that's an
no.
organ.
Nope.
Prostrate
Yes.
is
Yes.
what I was waiting for. Prostate.
I
is
did
a
not mean to
body
set you
organ.
up for a trap, but I did. That's what I was trying not to say, but I was trying to find the right.
Yes.
So
Prostrate
kudos on you there.
is
So
the
yes,
right word,
yes.
but
she is prostrate. So she is low to the ground. She is slinking through mud and grossness. And whereas at the end of the film, she is standing, she is elevated, she is high,
right.
signaling a thing. And so I don't have a ton to tie that together, but was just thinking about that idea. And maybe our shallows conversation prepped me for, but there was something that spoke to me in this film about her capacity as a swimmer, however maybe silly that is, as a plot device. I mean,
right.
her capacity to handle the situation she was in,
Yeah.
and what we can discuss here, but take away out there of that idea, which is how do we discipline ourselves so that when you are, to use our shallows conversation, in those shallows, in this case, faced with oppression and threat, how do we discipline ourselves in order to be able to nimbly deal with that threat? Anyway, I don't have a ton to unpack related to that, but these are the things I was thinking about in relation.
Well,
and
can
Please.
I mirror something, because you're talking about the threat I love so much. I think you're onto something, because I really wondered I really wondered why it was called Crawl. And I don't know necessarily that the film has the kinds of things on its mind that you just unpacked, but I really do love the connection of crawl before you walk and walk before you run, etc. And talking about how we have to, press through and pace ourselves, but make this sort of steady progress to meet this threat. What I had written down was about the threat itself, because what I found interesting is that there are, aside from the personal internal struggles that they're working on in their relationship, there are three primary threats. The first threat is the storm itself, the climate around them. And yes, I'm using that word very deliberately. The climate around them is the threat. Secondarily to that, because of that climate around them, the house they're in is rising with water. And there's a flood nature to what they're having to combat, directly related to the storm that is swirling around them. And then it is literally impossible to crawl through a flood. You have to find elevation. You have to find a way to rise above, or else you'll be overwhelmed and overcome, and you will drown in the muck of this flood. And then the third, the gimmick of the film, if there is one, I think it's far better than a gimmick, but is then you have the predators in the flood. You have the storm itself, the climate around you. You have the flood, the rising barrage of overwhelming things you have to press against and navigate. And then in the midst of that, you then have predators. You have monsters. They're natural ones in this film. They're gators, but you have that. And so something that I was scratching at, and I'll tie it back to what you were unpacking in just a second, and maybe we don't have to talk extensively about this, but in this particular season that we're in, and then at the culmination of this year that we're in, it feels very much like we're being asked not just to weather the storm, as it were, not just to make it through the pandemic, but also to navigate effectively the rising and overwhelming tide of this heap of troubles: economic troubles, emotional troubles, mental troubles, physical ones in general, like actually rising above those. In addition to that, it then also feels at times like there are people and things surrounding us that are trying to, as an opportunist, take advantage of this situation and feed off of the sort of cast down nature of everybody else, to do what they can to feed off of the position of others for their own gain. And so if anything sort of said to me, and now I'll pivot back to what you talked about crawling, is that if anything sort of spoke out to me about this film is just the oppressive nature of the variety of threats. That it's not just, oh, we're stuck by our own foolish choices and now there's these gators and we have to, it's like, in contrast to something like The Shallows, where she didn't know there was going to be a big shark in the water, but it's her choice to be there. Otherwise,
Right.
nothing forced her into this. She stepped into it. This is very much like, oh my God, we have to navigate. And Haley is even venturing out into the house for the sake of rescue, to try to
Sure.
to try to help somebody else, and so that's what brought her into the thick of this. They're having to survive the hurricane, they're having to survive against the flood, and then in the midst of that, then they have these gators. And it resonated perhaps largely because I'm watching this again in 2020 and not watching it again in 2019 when all of these things weren't going on. But just that sort of stuck to me, and your notion of a word of advice, a word of impulse, a word, just a word spoken into the situation. What in the world, God, what in the world do we do amidst all of this? What do we do with the pandemic? What do we do with how do we navigate isolation? How do we navigate loneliness and depression? How do we navigate economic hardship? And how do we navigate all this stuff? And the word in the middle of that, maybe crawl, like just a piece at a time, recognize where you are and what you're doing and what you are capable of in this moment and what you're not capable of in this moment. And in that place, maybe you can find progressive elevation to be able to crawl, bleeding into a walk, bleeding into a run, or in her case, very specifically in the context of the film, a swim, that then, finds you that place to where you will make it through this. You will survive. We jokingly referenced it earlier, but against just unimaginable odds. And that, I don't know. Again, I don't have some big profound bumper sticker myself, but thinking of the times we're in and the times they found themselves in this particular story, and how they navigated through it. That's what.
And maybe subconsciously to me, until now, it's surfacing.
Mm-hmm.
Water. It's a water reference.
Water. I caught that
illusion.
reference. Understood that reference.
I understood that reference. Maybe why it pinged for me the value of Barry Pepper's survival is that you aren't going to reach that elevation alone. Like you're not.
Right.
And we do love our triumphalism, our exceptionalism, our victorious lone soldier, whatever sort of imagery you want, this lone warrior idea against all odds, the single person surviving. But that's a fantasy, and that's a fairy tale that will get to those the beaches of wholeness by ourselves.
Right.
And so I think I do love that, it can't be thrown in the bucket of threat like what you described, but so too is this relational conflict. There's the physical, there's the climate oppressing them, there's the the subsequent waters rising that threaten them, there's the alligators, which are morally neutral, like,
right, they're just,
I mean, you can be mad at them, but they're just kind of doing what they do.
It's not malicious, also, it's just instinct.
Right.
Yes.
You just there, man. You tasty.
No.
We made it so long. But then on top of that is the relational threat is a strong word, but the relational conflict,
right, of course,
even in seeking him out, has beef with him, has issues directed at him. And so I do think there's something powerful to me, very hopeful, very optimistic, very right and appropriate, not hopeful in a hokey, isn't that cute kind of way, but right in a, this is how we get through.
Correct. Right.
You're going to get chomped and you're going to have limbs rent from you, but together we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
you know, maybe, goodness gracious, these things are just so dumb sometimes, how much they stare you in the face. At the end of this year that has felt like crap, like crawling through sewage
Yes.
and
Right. Right.
and dust and muck and spiders and just all sorts of nasty, it is not one person that's going to be striding atop the rubble when it's over.
Right. Of course.
Because if it's not together, it's not at all, because it's
Right.
not worth it
Yeah. Yeah.
otherwise.
No, I couldn't agree more. There was
Yeah.
something I had shared this on tangential to this recording. By the time this episode releases, it would have been a couple of weeks ago now, but I shared something on my, one of my social media meanderings where I had said, basically that I've been thinking about, and listeners are going to know where my head is at, specifically, the contrast that I'm drawing, but thinking about the term greatness and the idea of greatness, and even in the context of this film, you have the idea of this like apex predator, like you are the one. But I've been thinking a lot about that lately for obvious reasons, and the way that we demand greatness on the heels of we define it as accomplishment and success, and we define it as something that we can do, our ability or our capacity. And what's fascinating to me is what was specifically sort of pinging me is when Jesus in the scriptures would heal the sick, or he would perform a miracle, and then his disciples would be sort of marveled at that, and he would say, greater things than these will you do, like you're going to do even greater things than these. And what struck me about it is that I still think they and we would look at that and hear greatness, and we just keep waiting for the next big miracle. Oh, well, then I'm just going to be the superhuman. I'm going to be the one that's the, greatness in our eyes is, oh man, we're going to do even greater things than what we saw him do. So I'm going to heal even more people, and I'm going to do even more spectacular things, and I'm going to do even more profound and lauded things, because what we think is that greatness means glory. And we think that that means, oh, like you said, that the lone gunman kind of thing, like, I am great. I can be great, and I will be great. And what if, in point of fact, when he was saying you'll do even greater things than these, if in the eyes of eternity, greatness is not standing tall, but crawling and washing feet? What if
Right.
greatness is your capacity to serve, and that the greater things you will do is serve in even greater capacities and meet even more profound needs, and humble yourself to an even greater degree, to which you serve other people in that way. And that if greatness is not standing but crawling, and that it would be this kind of humble thing where he said, the greatest among you would be your servant. That is the eyes of eternity, and that when we look at it, we keep waiting for the next big thing, like those who seek the living among the dead. Like we just keep chasing the empire, and we keep chasing the fickle rising of historical significance.
Well,
Go
and
ahead.
you're Reed, you're watch the clock, Reed. No. You're making me think of a couple things, but one is our Alien Covenant conversation about the word
Yes.
perfect and words, and their this pendulum, or these poles that words and their meanings have, and the shifting fluidity of those meanings. And I would even push further into this and say, the greatness Jesus is referring to there is a getting low. It is a lowness. It is a closeness to
Right.
not just the literal ground, but those who are closest to the ground, that only in that, and in it, grabbing those who are hobbled by life and by morally neutral incidents, can we then arise into some form of stature if you will.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I worry. I am concerned over the ways we will the ways you know, you did it, okay, this is your fault, but that word greatness and its loaded connotations of these last years that are just nothing of the sort. And how I won't follow this far, but remember on Covenant, I was talking about feeling silenced, feeling like the words are being perverted, are being taken and unmade,
Right.
and abominized, made into an abomination. I saw some stupid video. I didn't click on it, didn't go dig too deeply into it. But it was this is Nathan talking, not Reed, not the fear of God. This is Nathan. It was this super right leaning, you know, kind of infographic video about why when people say, well, Jesus was a socialist or whatever, I'm touching the lightning rod, but then I'm going to pull away here. I'm just describing the thing.
Right.
When people say Jesus was a socialist, here's why they're wrong. And it like reframes Jesus as some sort of like, you know, buttress to capitalism. It's very troubling.
Oh, wow.
And this is where we just keep throwing him on the cross, Reed.
Yeah,
because there are these moments where, because you know, the word end of the year, Merry Christmas. The word Christian has all but lost much meaning, most meaning. That doesn't mean it's not salvageable. I don't mean that. I mean, there's very little ground left to hold, but one thing that is there to hold is the man himself.
Yeah.
When you start reconfiguring that into a support beam for economic expression,
Yeah.
you are hammering them nails hard.
Yes. Agreed.
And
Yeah.
and that's deeply troubling. And I can you know, let's steer back into the film because I've gotten way away, but the ultimate point I was trying to make is simply, to your point, you know, it matters that the arc of this film is low until the end.
Yes.
Like it's not
right.
It's not low to be raised up.
Right.
It's there. And you know, I'll throw one more dumb imagery of the movie here. She gets elevated to call for help from higher elevation.
Right. Correct. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway,
So I'm
I'll
gonna
stop.
well, and I'll end my thoughts on this because, like, oh man, oh man.
Don't do it.
So yeah. Okay. So Philippians chapter 2, verse 6. I'm just gonna read it, and I'm probably only gonna say like a sentence or two about it, and then be done. We hopefully, because I know we've gone a little over, but this has been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it. Philippians chapter 2, beginning at verse 6, it says, "Who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on the cross." And I'll come back to that in a second, but then, of course, the passage 9 through 11 finishes, "Therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of God the Father. It's a very, feels like a very sort of Christmas appropriate kind of passage. But the thing that I keep thinking about is that starting point where it said he did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage, and rather made himself nothing. And then, according to that passage of the scripture, then it is God that exalts him as a result of that. You talk about, reaching out to higher elevation, that's the thing, is like in that passage. And I know, like, again, the passage itself even says being in very nature God. I'm not getting into all the theological ramifications of that and unpacking that, because we explore, we don't explain. I will say this: the passage expresses very plainly, like, he did not consider equality with God something to be used to his advantage. And as a result of that, God exalted him, because he humbled himself and then lowered himself. And as a result, and through this process and through a myriad of other things, then God exalted him. And I think so many times we try so hard to exalt ourselves, when the scripture says elsewhere that everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and everyone who humbles himself will be exalted. And that if we are willing to bow and kneel and crawl, not to the powers and principalities that oppress us, but rather to be down with those who are most low, that maybe we all may rise together. If we are able and willing to position ourselves in that place, then the in the film, a helicopter, in the construct of the world around us, layer on whatever metaphorical image you need to, will then reach down and raise us all up to this place. Like that's what we have to do. She starts this film by going to the place where my best friend Nathan Rouse would not go for me, and that is in the muck and mire under the house.
Hey, now.
I'm just kidding. It was a jokey thing. But in the muck, in the mud, under there to rescue. And it's like that is some greatness I can get behind. Like the greatness of crawling where they are, the greatness of leaving the safe 99 to find the one who's lost, the greatness of sharing a cup of cold water. That's the greatness that I deeply believe the kingdom is calling us to, not the greatness of opulence and empire and glorious grandeur that is fickle and flawed and completely fades away with the passage of time and history. But instead, the greatness of saying, like, what if the greatness is how well we can meet the need, and how willing we are to do so and to humble ourselves to do so? What if that's the greatness? What our willingness to crawl? And I know I'm leaning a lot on the title of the film and not the narrative of the film. I'll hang a lantern on it so listeners don't have to. But
Well, and just to make a real Christmas movie out of one that isn't, what do babies do, Reed?
they crawl.
And
They crawl.
How did Jesus come to us first?
So that's right. It's right.
As a baby.
That's the thing. It's like that's the thing. It's like that. They keep.
Merry Christmas. That's enough.
Merry Christmas. That's it. That's it. We're done. We're over 2 hours here.
Point made.
quick to the fog meter. Before we wrap up again.
The fog meter is our very special metric. You know it by now. Fear and God. How scary? How substantive? I will start. Crawl is scary. I'm gonna give crawl. I'm gonna give it an 8 because I'm feeling generous.
All right.
And it made me jump multiple times.
Dude, for pure sorry. So for pure jump factor alone, this is an easy 7 or 8. Honestly, and I will say that nightmarish feelings are probably not going to haunt you after the film, it's end credits roll. But yeah, I mean, I'll join you in your 8. Because
thank you
for the freaking jump scares alone, they are terribly, terribly effective. Now for the God meter, I think you and I have latched onto a couple of things that as we tend to do, these just fire off things in our brain that we are already reflecting on in life and status. And I do not feel, unlike I'm not purposefully sort of pitting this against the Shallows, but whereas I feel like Shallows might have had a few things on its mind, I think Crawl does really well by its relationships at its core. I don't think it is intended to be a very thought-provoking kind of film. That having been said, some interesting things kind of rise up when you begin to press on the metaphors a little bit. So I'll split the difference and give it a 5.
6.
And sing. Sure. You know what? I'm going to round it up because it's Christmas. I'm going to be generous. We're just going to give it a round up. So that means that we give Crawl, directed by Alexandre Aja, a 7 out of 10 on the fog meter, and probably really easy.
That's right.
Yes, I feel that's absolutely right. And I think I know your answer, but do you recommend Crawl?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yes.
Loved it.
I
did during the watching of it. I recommended it to my dad, and I was like, "Hey, Crawl."
That's right. That's right. I also highly recommend the film. I think it is a significantly easy film to recommend if you're just looking for that kind of.
I kind of wanted, because I actually watched it because I thought my wife could handle this. It's a little touches on the viscera a little bit, you know.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Little nasty in a few places, but when I'm watching it, thinking, "Girl, you can watch this." That's pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again.
So I recommend it as well. It's a very easy recommend. So that puts 2019 of hashtag 2020. We did it. We didn't know if the calendar was going to work, but we made it. So next week.
I mean, the calendar, we didn't know if we were going to survive.
That's a good point. So next week, y'all, if everything goes according to plan, because as we are recording this, these are plans and not in the can. But next week, we're going to have our New Year's Eve staff party. It's going to be hopefully a lot of fun, very different. And we are going to be covering, as our featured coverage, your featured film. I'm going to go ahead and say it was your number one because, you know, what else have we covered from 2020? So we're going to cover your number one. Tune in to hear your top favorite horror films of 2020. And we're going to be talking about Lee Whannell's The Invisible Man, starring Elizabeth Moss. Really good film. Everybody has probably seen it by now. And so watch that film again and familiarize with it and join the party as a listener for the New Year's Eve staff party. Nathan, thank you so much for having this conversation with me for a really fun Christmas episode. This just delighted my heart in so many ways. And thank you, listener, as always, for going on this journey with us. As we say on every episode, the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom, but not the end of the conversation. And in that spirit, we encourage you to fear nothing else and be on your way rejoicing. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, Nathan, and we will see you all next week.
And God bless us, everyone. See you next week. Are you playing the flute like Harry? Oh.
Yes. I'm actually thinking, I think that's the Old Lang Syne, so I don't know that that's right.
Yeah, it is. That's next week. See you, everybody.
Bye.